MyJewelry faces a crossroad. Having been successful in the Netherlands, it is now wondering where it should go next. And that's where the Shiny Strategist comes in. The team of me, Andre, John Mark, Juan, Romain, and Rebecca are working on this problem of what are the next steps for MyJewelry. Now, applying the frameworks of Vero, Cage, and the 5 forces, we have devised the My Expansion strategy, where we're going to do social commerce in Germany alongside a tour which will validate and power our German expansion. Take it away, Rebecca.
Thank you, Andre. MyJewelry, you have grown from a Facebook page to an established European jewelry brand, and you have done so through your social media-driven community, your founder-led brand identity, your experiential retail stores, and lastly, those fastly moving, trendy products. But today, you want to go from your established presence to 500 million revenue in 5 years. And the European jewelry market is growing at an 8% CAGR rate, with the fastest growing segment being social media-driven brands, which is why MyJewelry is in a unique position to scale and grow across borders. But today, reading the case, we saw that you have 3 main challenges to tackle. The first one being brand scalability. You are built on a loyal community and Sharon's identity. How are you going to replicate this and transfer this across borders? Secondly, market selection. Both Germany and France are different opportunities, but prioritizing the right one is going to be key for your future expansion. And thirdly, competitive positioning. Both markets have local rivals with established influencer networks and consumer trust. So how are you going to compete? To tackle these 3 challenges, our approach is to assign a framework for each of them. The first one, Vrio, to see which sustainable asset is going to transfer internationally. The second one being Cage, to select the right market. And thirdly, Porter's 5 forces, to see how MyJewelry can win. Let's take a look at the first framework, Vrio. You can find 1 asset that I will present now and another 2 assets we have analyzed in the appendix. But let's start with your organic community building playbook. This is how MyJewelry turns customers into micro-influencers and brand ambassadors. Firstly, why is this a valuable asset? Well, micro-influencers have a much higher ROI than paid ads. Secondly, this is a rare asset. Most competitors rely on seasonal campaigns, on paid ads, or on seasonal advertising, which MyJewelry doesn't need through their organic community reach. Thirdly, you have spent 14 years cultivating this asset and this community, something that if a rival were to do, is impossible to do as it is not a purchasable asset, making it definitely inimitable. And fourthly, is it organized? Well, you introduce products on a weekly basis, and also you have taken this community and shown that it can be proven in Belgium, meaning that it is a sustained competitive advantage. Now to Romain for the Cage framework.
Not so quick, Rebecca. When trying to scale to that type of value, the founder personification is the true bottleneck, which will need to transition to a more institutionalized culture to keep that organic feel. Now, onto the Cage framework, where I'll focus on 2 key elements. The cultural distance, which, looking through the Hofstede framework, Germany is a lot closer to the Netherlands, especially in power distance and uncertainty avoidance. Now, looking at the English proficiency ranking, the Netherlands and Germany are quite close together, allowing them to fall back upon English if they need to. In terms of economic distance, the GDP per capita of Germany and the Netherlands are quite close together, allowing them to have similar disposable income. Looking at the luxury jewelry market, France has half the market share while also having a lower CAGR than the German market. This leads to Germany being a clear pick and a lower distance market in terms of entry. Now, onto Porter's 5 forces. As we have chosen Germany, we want to see how we can conquer this market. Looking at new entrants, online barriers to enter are very low due to online e-commerce. Increasing store count, however, is expensive. This leads to MyJewelry needing to raise awareness through their social media campaigns to be able to make every expansion count. Looking at supplier power, this is not very relevant in this case, as there is fragmented international supply base, leading MyJewelry able to switch between suppliers. Looking at competitive rivalry, this remains very high due to the high number of alternatives, which leads to MyJewelry needing to focus on differentiation such as customer experience. Buyer power remains high due to the low risk of buying more and returning the rest. This is amplified by the buy now, pay later schemes and which have been made popular recently. Looking at the threats of substitutes, affordable jewelry competes with other accessories, which is made clear in the McKinsey case. Hence, MyJewelry needs to make their value proposition fit the customer demand. Now on to Rebecca again.
Today, we have successfully tackled our 3 challenges using our 3-layered framework approach. For brand scalability, we know that your organic community building playbook is a sustained competitive advantage, and it has already been proved to travel across borders. Secondly, for your market selection, Germany scores lower on every cage dimension, making it the right market to start your international expansion with. And thirdly, your competitive positioning. We know that the industry structure is unattractive. However, this makes your strong community and your atelier concept even stronger differentiators. Now off to John Mark for the strategy.
So with these key insights in the bag, let's look at how we can excel our German expansion from the get-go. First of all, we're going to be establishing an omni-channel presence, but we're going to start off jumping into social commerce. So let's dive into it. For now, we see TikTok online shopping is a huge, massive trend in Germany and will allow us to establish strong brand presence and community engagement. So how will this look like? Experts will be demoing products where people can interact with them and learn more about the brand. Also, they'll have a community building and they can go straight to shopping. Now, another thing we can establish is a brand collab with Casetify. This is great because they're a well-known brand in Germany, stand for high quality, and this will allow us to overcome that liability of outsidership that we need to, as well as make sure that this is a beachhead strategy, which means that we're focusing our resources into one collaboration that will help us establish a foothold in the new market. So, next, we will take these validated insights from the online platform and figure out where we're getting the most traction. And this can inform our next strategy part, which Juan will walk through now.
Thank you, John Mark. Now that we've seen the first pillar of our strategy, getting started in Germany, let's take a look at the second pillar, which is My Tour. Now, here is the MyJewelry My Pink van. We're going to be driving this van all around Germany to be able to establish which locations have the most sales demand, which is in turn what Andre will cover in the third pillar, where we should open our stores. At each stop, we're going to have a mobile pop-up store where we're going to sell jewelry and tell people more about our brand. We're also going to host an influencer meetup in each of these towns and cities in Germany so that macro influencers can come in and bring micro influencers with them to then conduct a UGC masterclass. We want to make sure we're recruiting a lot of these micro influencers because it's what's made your brand so successful in the Netherlands. We've seen that Pure Light is dominating the German market and they have 10 years on us. Therefore, we want to go right to the streets instead of fighting with ad budgets, for example. Now, this is a little bit more of what My Tour will bring to German towns and cities all around the nation. Here, we'll be able to capture sales demand per stop, but also the density and quality of the micro-influencers that are attending our events and masterclasses. The key benefits are 2. First of all, we'll be able to try all of these locations across 26 weeks before committing to opening a physical location. And second of all, by providing real value to micro and macro influencers all over Germany, we establish a continuous pipeline of affiliate talent, which is again what has made your brand so successful and what Rebecca covered in the analysis. Now, Andre, tell us about the third pillar that brings everything together.
Thank you, Juan. But now let's take a step back and look at what our choices mean for the future of the company. First, we chose a digital-first approach to build operational scale. This will allow us to build the logistic framework before moving into retail. Second, we're running a UGC masterclass for micro-influencers. This means that we're building a direct channel for recruitment, which will be a valuable asset regardless of Germany. In any future market, micro-influencers will be the key to your success. And finally, we chose Germany instead of France as the expansion location. And this leverages the cultural homogeneous of countries neighboring Germany rather than France, where they have a more distinct cultural dynamic. Now, let's take a step back and look at where your company stands today. It has 2 stores in Germany. However, with the My Expansion strategy, this is what your MyJewelry could look like in 2030. Thank you.